I'm Sherry and this is Gardening in the North, and today we're planting our onions and I've got a ton of tips for you, so keep watching. There are two methods to growing onions. The first way is buying onion sets, and those are those tiny little bulbs, onion bulbs that you can get that are in the mesh bags, and they're at all of your local nurseries, garden stores, big box stores. Everybody is selling them right now for gardeners to pick them up and plant them out in their garden. What they don't tell you is that they are year 2 onions. Somebody has grown them from seed like these, and they've grown them to a specific size. They've then basically put them to sleep, they've gone dormant, and they pull them out at a particular time, throw them in the mesh bags, and sell them. Now that's great because there are a lot of people out there that don't have time, or they don't have the space or the equipment to grow them from seed. So they are a great option. The thing that you need to know about these onion bulbs or these onion sets is that they are year 2 onions. And what that means is that their sole job is to go to seed. So they are going to grow that bulb a little bit bigger, but they're not going to grow a bulb over going to seed. A lot of their energy is going to be going to seed. So the bulbs on those particular onions are always going to be smaller than the bulbs on these particular onions. The other method of growing onions is growing them by seed. Now, this can get a little bit tricky for some of us. I know in my area, a lot of the seeds that come out in the big box stores, they often don't have onions because they don't put out their seeds until end of February. So by the time they're putting out their seeds, it's well past time that I should have already started my onions. And so I think they understand that, and they just don't provide a lot of seed option for onions. So what we need to do is go online and order from seed companies, which is great because then you're on there, you're searching for your onion seeds, and of course you're buying everything else. So the one thing that you have to remember when you're buying seeds, onion seeds, is there are 2 types. There are long day onions and short day onions. So long day onions need roughly 14 to 16 hours of daylight hours. And so if you are in the northern areas and you are growing zones 6 and down, then long day onions are the ones that you should be purchasing. Now, short day onions need 10 to 12 hours of daylight hours. And so if you are in growing zones 7 and up, those are the ones that you should be purchasing. Onion seedlings that you've grown from seeds are year 1 onions, and their sole job is to grow a bigger onion bulb. Let's take a quick minute to talk about hardening off plants before I have to run inside because the rain is coming and I'm gonna have to do the second part of this video tomorrow. So what I've done with mine is I pulled them out of my grow room about 3.5 weeks ago, and I put them in my dining room. I put them in my dining room in front of a window in a dog crate to keep them safe from my 2 cats. And I let them get used to the air that was upstairs in my house as opposed to being downstairs under those lights. Then a week ago, I started bringing them outside. Now I know that onion seedlings are frost hardy. I'm gonna plant these outside before my last frost date, and I know that they're gonna be fine. But I also don't want to shock them so much that bringing them from the grow room out into the garden is a little bit too much stress for them. So I wanted to get them used to being outside, brought them outside for a few hours. One day, the next day was a little bit more, and basically within 4 days, I just left them outside. So here we are today. Now, I want to show you how to pull the onions apart. And what I mean by that is, if I show you, I have really overseeded. So there are a lot of onion seedlings in here, and they come apart really easy. Couple tricks that I have found that really help me is I usually will water my onion seedlings before, a couple hours before I'm going to start pulling them apart, so that the roots actually release a little easier. Other thing you can do is you can pull them out of your container and just plop them into water, and that will help as well when it comes time to actually start pulling them apart. So I want to show you up close how easy it is to pull these onion seedlings apart when they're heavily seeded like this. Look at the roots on that. So let me see. Okay, they're just coming out so easy. So let me show you another one. How cool is that? And I'm not pulling hard. It's as easy as that. So you basically want to take your onion seedling and you only want to go basically to above where that bulb is starting to form. Now, you want to make sure that your roots are all planted. You don't want them sticking out. So if you have to dig down a little bit further to put your roots in, that's okay, as long as the dirt level isn't above where that bulb is starting to form. And so I'm doing it 4 inches between each onion. And I'm basically eyeballing it. So I dig a little bit of a hole there to get my roots in. I want to make sure that they're in. But when I'm covering it, I'm making sure that I don't go well past that bulb. And you want to make sure that you are pushing it down. So again, same kind of thing. I'm going to go to about there, not too far. And then you want to make sure that you're pushing the dirt down just to hold your onion in place. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to try and plant all my onions into these beds today. But a couple things I want to touch on. Because it's going to rain today and I'm going to get a lot of my onions planted, I'm not going to water these beds. I know that it's going to rain and the rain will do my job. However, I will monitor it, because if it's not a sufficient rain, if it's just drizzling all day, then I will come out at the end of the day and make sure that I give them some water. Onions are huge feeders for water. Throughout their whole growing period, they are big feeders for water. You have to make sure that you're always watering your onions. The other thing that they're really big feeders on is nitrogen. So while that bulb is actually forming and growing, you want to make sure that every 2 to 3 weeks, you are giving your onions a high nitrogen fertilizer. And you don't want to throw that fertilizer on the onion. You want to do it offsetting it. So you want to go down the row, in between the rows, and put your fertilizer there. Now, there are so many different kinds out there that you can get. You just have to pick the one that you like best, and maybe you pick the one that you can use somewhere else in your garden as well, so you're getting more uses out of that fertilizer. So what's the answer? Are you going to start growing your onions from seed? Growing them from seed, not only does it give you a bigger onion, but you can pick from so many different varieties. There are so many options out there for you to pick the one that you like best. I hope that some of the information that I gave you today was helpful, and maybe you'll try this. Thanks for spending time with me.